House of the Dragon is an amazing show. Its success has in large part brought the Game of Thrones franchise back into the mainstream. The show's massive success is mainly due to its ability to not only match, but often exceed the original source material from which the show derives from. Something which even Game of Thrones was often unable to do. I mean, look at King Viserys. The guy's barely even a character in Fire and Blood. Yet in House of the Dragon, he's a fan favorite. And for good reason. He's awesome. However, as the title suggests, some of the characters were mishandled when transferred from the books onto the show. Which of course, unfortunately brings us to Aegon II Targaryen. So, what's my problem with King Aegon? Well, I don't think the showrunners seem to have a clear idea on what Aegon should be and made him way too villainous and evil. But things didn't start off that way, because when we see this dude for the first time in episode 6, he's kind of your stereotypical douche prince, right? Not necessarily your definition of evil, but definitely your definition of a prick. The worst he's capable of is objectifying women and cruel, dumb pranks. Or so we thought. And let's just pause here for a moment. Pretend the heinous acts Aegon would later commit in the show never happened. I think right here, we have a character who we can sort of get behind. Sure, he's an ass, but his mother is disgusted by his very existence. His father, on the other hand, is barely even aware of said existence, and his grandfather, the scheming fuck, uses him like a tool to further his own goals and ambitions. This is his family, and the mistreatment Aegon faces creates a deep desire for love and affection. This is not only something we can all sympathize with, but it's something which makes sense given the fact that his very existence seems to be shunned by everyone who's supposed to love him. Aegon, as a character, works best as someone who we can sympathize with, as his story is meant to be a tragic one. But that all goes out the window when you portray this guy as an absolute monster. So let's just address the scene I've been alluding to since the start of this video. That being the scene where Alicent confronts Aegon about the rape. And my, oh my, did they not pull any punches here. Not only is his first scene as an adult about a very sensitive and disturbing topic, but they literally go out of their way to show just how deeply Aegon has traumatized this girl. People, this right here is how to make a character absolutely irredeemable in the eyes of an audience 101. Which is so confusing because on one hand, they're trying to portray him as a sympathetic character, yet at the same time, they made this dude into a literal freaking rapist. And we see this right here in this scene. Because when Aegon vents that no matter his efforts, he never feels appreciated by his parents, it just doesn't work for me. How can we feel any ounce of sympathy for this dude when we literally just saw a poor girl sobbing because he just raped her? When Alicent says, "You're no son of mine," instead of feeling sorry for Aegon, I'm with Alicent. I'm like, yeah, fuck that dude. And just when you thought it couldn't get any worse, guess what? It gets worse. Because Aegon, the second of his name, King of the Andals, the Rhoynar, and the First Men, apparently likes to watch literal children fight to the death like animals? And some of the kids in the pits are his own bastard children and likely have or will participate in the fighting. And let's be honest, do you really think the mothers of Aegon's children all consented to having sex? This right here is straight up stupid, unnecessary, and puts Aegon at a cartoonish level of evil. And can someone tell me what these scenes even added? Because I still can't fathom what purpose they served. And that just makes it all the more frustrating. These two scenes, especially the fighting pit one, don't have to happen, and they cause so much damage to the character of Aegon. Whether willing or not, the showrunners made Aegon into the villain, which I just don't like. In the story of Greens versus Blacks, neither side should be viewed as heroes or villains. Yet in House of the Dragon, how can you not root for Rhaenyra and the Blacks against Aegon and the Greens? And let's get back to the scenario I proposed earlier with the non-rapist, non-child fighting pit watching Aegon. Well, suddenly, the decision of greens versus blacks is much harder. Do we root for Rhaenyra, who like Stannis is fighting for what is rightfully hers? Or do we side with Aegon, who's been manipulated by his family into believing he'll be killed if his sister takes the crown, and with this newfound kingship, finds some of the validation and love he's been seeking his whole life, which is in part why he's willing to fight so ferociously to defend his crown, and most importantly, isn't an absolute monster and someone with at least some level of morals. To me, this sounds a lot more intriguing than having Rhaenyra go head to head with the overly villainous Aegon we got in the show, which granted will still be an epic and great story, but I think they missed a huge opportunity here. And the head-scratching part about all of this is that the showrunners wanted us to have at least some sympathy towards this guy, which I'm all for, but it's hard for it to work when you add scenes which make him out to be like another Joffrey. Because I've seen that comparison be made, and while I don't fully agree with the comparison, I also can't fault people for coming to that conclusion. I mean, the guy likes to watch literal children fight each other to the death. I understand that he was neglected and used by his family, but the truth of the matter is that most people in similar situations aren't fucking rapists who watch children fight like animals. The lack of any real redeeming qualities isn't helping his case either. Aegon is a monster. Regardless of how his family treated him, there is no excuse for how he is. So to add to things, a large amount of characters from Fire and Blood were actually toned down when they appeared in House of the Dragon. Rhaenyra, Alicent, Aemon, and many others are way worse in the books compared to the show counterparts, at least from what we've seen of them so far. Aegon, on the other hand, was made to be even worse than his book counterpart. Why did they take the most vile and evil accounts of Aegon in Fire and Blood if they were trying to create a sympathetic character? The final thing I want to discuss is the lack of Aegon's dragon, Sunfire. Sunfire is the fucking man, dude. This dragon enters and stays in God mode during the dance. Aegon's bond with Sunfire is the best dragon and rider bond we see in the dance, and it's one of the few good things about him. So with Sunfire's removal, it derives him of a redeeming quality he desperately needed. However, is this the end of the world? No. Because we'll certainly see Sunfire in Season 2. Will they keep the strong bond they share in the books? I think so, but the negative consequences are still felt nonetheless. Plus, that abysmal Rainy scene, which messed up his coronation. But that horse has been beaten to death, and it does me no good to beat it down further. So, this brings us to the question: is the character of Aegon II ruined? Absolutely not. Aegon is still a great character who I look forward to the most in Season 2. I cannot stress this enough. Despite the fact that I disagree with where they've taken the character so far, I'm still a fan, but I'd much prefer a tragic Aegon. Someone who the audience can rally behind just as much as they get behind Rhaenyra. And it's clear that the showrunners want this, at least to some degree, yet why also add the scenes which do nothing but make him unnecessarily villainous? However, that doesn't mean Aegon isn't an extremely complex and interesting character. Plus, the freaking actor of this dude, man, the actor, I'm gonna butcher this name, Tom Glyn Carney? Is that always? I don't know. Hits it out of the park. All right, this guy's freaking great. So that's my perspective on Aegon II's portrayal so far in House of the Dragon Season 1. So yeah, hope you all enjoyed. This is the Italian Man 26 signing off. Have a great day. Take care now. Bye.